Good morning, or depending when you're listening to this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today we're going to be looking at some new rules that Pokemon has brought in. I say rules, it's really more penalty guidelines, but if you're the kind of person that likes going to tournaments, these are things that you should absolutely be aware of, because these things are pretty gosh darn important. So earlier today, Pokemon, over on Pokemon.com, on the official website, gave us an updated version of the Pokemon TCG penalty guidelines. And there was a handy little section at the end that tells us the changes that were made, although shout out to Tina Michi, who actually was the one who pointed out to me that there is a little section at the end that tells me about all the changes that have been made. So, let's go over the ones we need to know. According to 7.1.2, drawing an extra card is now a major game playing error and can lead to a prize card penalty. What that means is that if you draw an extra card, you play an N and draw 7. You play a Professor Sycamore and draw 8. You use an Octillery to draw 3 cards and accidentally draw 4. It is now a major error. And according to the Pokemon guidelines, a major penalty is where the game state has become irreversibly confused due to gameplay errors. It is appropriate for the judge to issue a higher level penalty. Major gameplay penalties are also appropriate for minor gameplay errors that have left the game too confused to reset. And funnily enough, your opponent, if you draw an extra card, your opponent will actually get a caution for not keeping track of the game state. Which is kind of weird, because if you draw an extra card and your opponent immediately catches it, they'll still get a caution, or at least they can, which is a little bit weird. And now drawing an extra card is specifically mentioned as something that could be a major gameplay error. And Tier 2 means that you get a prize card. Now, another change has been made, and this is a very important change. It used to be that if you drew an extra card, you would reveal it to your opponent and put it back on top of the deck. The theory being that way the deck is as it was before, as it should be, but you haven't gained any extra knowledge by drawing that extra card. Both players know what that next card is. Now, it has been put into the penalty guidelines officially that the recommended fix is to reveal the card or cards in question and shuffle it into the deck. If multiple extra cards are drawn, it may be appropriate to escalate the penalty. Now, this is really interesting because this, and I'm not suggesting anybody should, this is naughty, but this could lead to badness. Because what if your opponent uses something like Gallade's Premonition? That allows you to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and rearrange them. And one of the really annoying things about using Premonition is sometimes you look at the top 5 cards and they're all garbage. And you know you are going to be dead drawing for the next kind of 5 turns. And that's really upsetting. So maybe you use that and then you use an Octillery and oh no, I accidentally drew an extra card. Now I get to shuffle up my deck. Little bit strange, ladies and gentlemen, but it is potentially something that happens. Another interesting thing about making drawing an extra card potentially a prize card penalty is that in Crimson Invasion we've got 2 new cards coming out, Counter Catcher and Counter Energy, both of which are best used, and by best used I mean only really used, when you're behind on prizes. Counter Catcher is a Lysander in an item card when you're behind on prizes, and Counter Energy is any 2 energy when attached to a non-EX, non-GX, and you're behind on prizes. So there is a potential unintended consequence here, where somebody draws an extra card, gets caught, has a prize card penalty, but then has access to Counter Catcher and Counter Energy, which might actually be an advantage to them. Or indeed just using N. There was a friend of mine at a tournament a long time ago now. He was playing in a tournament and he had a major deck list error, so he was given a free prize penalty. His opponent started with 3 prizes taken and 3 prizes remaining. So my friend just played an N on turn 1, put his opponent down to a 3 card hand, and then rolled him over while his opponent drew nothing from a 3 card hand to start the game. I am just pointing out times this can go wrong. Of course, this giving a prize card penalty is a good thing where appropriate. It's just weird that now in Crimson Invasion we have more ways to take advantage of this. Now, in Section 741, slow play should be escalated to a prize card penalty after the first warning. If your opponent's playing a little bit too slowly, this can go up to a prize card penalty after they've had just a single warning, although they should never go above a prize card penalty. Now, the rulings here, they give us some examples of what slow play might entail. You are excessively slow when deciding which Pokemon to attach an energy card to. You take an unreasonable amount of time deciding which basic Pokemon to take from your deck after playing a Pokeball. Counting or searching your or your opponent's deck or discard pile more than once in a short time period. We've all played people who have done that. Repeatedly searching your deck, hand, or discard pile while performing a card effect, and attempting to engage in extraneous conversation that interferes with timely play. And if ever there's one that I'm going to be done for, it's going to be that one. I am a chatty, friendly man. This is good, because when you play against slow players, the biggest problem is that you run out of time and you call the judge and then it gets escalated and it takes a while, by which point your opponent has slow played their way to victory. Whereas now they get caught slow playing twice, it's a prize card penalty, and you are laughing. Hopefully not in a mean way, because that of course could be a penalty in and of itself. And I'm not going to go into all the kind of things like counter catcher for prize card penalties. We've done that before. But counteracting with that, we've also got that continually rushing your opponent may result in action that becomes an unsportsmanlike conduct. It says in the guidelines that ruling involves a player trying to get their opponent to play faster. This can cause the opponent to lose their concentration, making them more likely to make a mistake. Rushing is often a symptom of an opponent's slow play, but it can occur when a player is excited to get to their next turn, which is about the most adorable phrasing I've ever heard. Continually rushing could be treated as unsportsmanlike conduct. Here's the thing though, if we look at what might constitute rushing, this actually is kind of things we might do naturally. Placing your hand near your deck to draw a card, indicating you're ready to start your turn. Making exasperated noises or comments, yeah, that's clearly rushing. But rushing through your opponent's attack step by putting damage on your Pokemon before your opponent announces which attack is being used or the total damage being done, we've all done that, ladies and gentlemen. So that is something you really need to watch. We've all put damage on too early because we know what attack our opponent is going to use. Do it more than once or twice and it could be rushing your opponent. I think all of these are very sensible. I am well in favour of all of these. However, there is one that really did worry me a little bit, and it was actually found in the video game rules formats and penalty guidelines. It's section 2.2, and it says, players should ensure that game systems with which they enter play Pokemon tournaments are unmodified. Players found to be using modified systems may be subject to disqualification and subsequent disciplinary action. Sounds fine. We don't want people using hacked systems, and clearly that's why the rule is there. But again, we have an unintended consequence here. What happens if somebody is using a capture-carded 3DS? This is a 3DS that you can use to either stream or to record, in order to do a community stream, a grassroots level stream. In theory, this rule here would say you're not allowed to take a capture-carded 3DS to an official tournament. What does this mean for grassroots streaming of the video game? For the trading card game, it's easy. You take a camera and a tripod, you set up the camera on a tripod looking down onto your opponent's field, you're absolutely fine. But if you want to stream a video game tournament, you've got to use a capture-carded 3DS. But apparently now you can't. That's a little bit... I see where the rule's coming from, but it's a little bit scary to me. I like grassroots video game streams. And the last one there is in section 9. A suspended player cannot attend any events in any capacity. Now it actually reads, A suspended player should not be allowed to participate in or attend any Play Pokemon events as a spectator, player, judge, organizer, or volunteer. And essentially, if you're disruptive, your suspension could be extended. That means if you're banned from playing, you can't even go along as a spectator. Which again, arguably quite harsh, but then again, don't get banned in the first place. But as with all of this, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know your opinions. Do you think a prize card penalty for drawing an extra card is a bit too harsh? Do you like the fact that that card now gets shuffled in, or did you prefer it when it was just show it and put it back in? Do you like that slow play seems to be more of an area of focus now? How do you feel about grassroots video game streams? I want all of your opinions. I want them in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc., you can do so at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.